I can see it in your eyes. You've seen the moon and its darker side. I can feel the gravity, the forces pull between you and me. Yes, it's true, I'm falling hard for you, but I won't rush this love. I can wait even if it's hard to take. One moment is enough. I will be standing here right by your side. I will be standing here till the end of time. I will be standing here all through the night, till the stars align. A little lighter over time. Yes, it's true, I'm falling hard for you, but I won't rush this love. I can wait even if it's hard to take. One moment is enough. I will be standing here right by your side. I will be standing here till the end of time. I will be standing here all through the night, till the stars align.
Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing? Welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast. What a victory for Oxford United. It finishes 3-1 at the Kassam Stadium. Really happy with it, to be honest with you. So happy with the performance. Micheal Appleton making his way back to the Kassam. Probably the fourth time now since he obviously left as Oxford United coach just a few years ago. But it's another pretty disappointing result, him coming back to Kassam, and of course we wish him the best and continue with his recovery, of course, with his off-the-pitch issues. He's now back on the touchline. It's great to see him, but unfortunately for him, it didn't quite go the way that he would have wanted as Lincoln City manager this afternoon, because Oxford United really put on a show. Back, getting a reaction and needing a reaction from that game against Bolton Wanderers. I went there last Saturday. The video is still on the still on the channel, of course. As always, you can go back and watch that at any point, and we need a reaction from that result. We really needed something to respond and to react with what was quite a not a bad performance, but not an amazing performance. A pretty average one. We lost the game. Bolton at the end of the day got the all important goals and came away with the win. But today we were absolutely ruthless. Like I said, we needed a reaction from that Bolton defeat. We needed to get back in front of the home fans and prove that we lose a game, we can pick ourselves up and get straight back to business to try and change our fortunes, try and change our form. And we started the season really well and continue to do that today, moving up to third, and now, of course, on 10 points out of 15, for which is, well, what normally is quite a sad start to the season under Carl Robinson. Historically, he doesn't get to the best of starts as Oxford United manager. So, of course, to get another win on the board this early in the season, the 5th game of the season, it was absolutely massive. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, please make sure you give your thoughts in the live chat. Everything you give in the live chat, I'll be reading out and discussing as they happen. Really, really, really excited to see what you've got to say in the live chat. And yeah, get your thoughts in there straight away, because I'll be giving my thoughts and, of course, reading your thoughts as well. So, first of all, I've got to be honest, I'll run through the game and give my thoughts on it straight away. And like I said there, I've summed up. It's a really, really important 3 points. But how did Oxford United get those 3 points? How did we come away with all those important points on the board? And I can tell you straight away, Appleton's sides are always really, really well organised. Appleton always used to set an Oxford United side up, and whatever side he's been at, to be a really, really difficult force to break down, to be a team that was always going to cause trouble to break down and cause issues to break down defensively, and you're going to have to be at your best to try and sort yourself out and try and break and unlock these defences, and we knew that going into this game. However, it was really, really quite important that Oxford United did get that first goal, because I think if we considered that first goal, it would have been really, really difficult for Oxford United to come back and be able to react to that. It really needed something. It needed a bit of a magic, really. It needed a bit of magic to open the game up and start the game and start firing straight away. And we got that piece of magic. It felt like we needed a moment of magic from an Oxford United player to break the deadlock. What was going to be, they were playing quite a low block. They're playing quite a well-organised, tight block, if you like, as Lincoln City players. And then we needed that moment of magic. And James Henry was that man to pick up the ball outside the penalty area, or just inside the penalty area. I don't think it was. Outside the penalty area, I would say, from where I was sat. I have to watch the goal back for definite, but definitely to take a strike into the top right-hand corner, a fantastic goal, and that's exactly what Oxford United needed, wasn't it? It needed that bit of moment, it needed that bit of magic to take the lead. Really, really happy with it. And James Henry, again, we'll come on to him in a moment, but what a game that man had, but what a performance it was from the whole team. But again, like I said, it needed a bit of magic, it needed something like that, it needed a bit of a spark to take this Lincoln City side to a position where they had to come out and they had to attack us in a different way and approach the game in a different way. And Oxford United needed to make sure, and I think the only way really of doing that was getting that win, getting that early goal, and that obviously would lead into it being a really, really, really encouraging game and encouraging performance from Oxford United. And then as we now move on, suddenly there, Lincoln now have to change the game. They have to come up, and the game will then and should open up in a different way. And we just then really dominated the game of football. We controlled the ball, we kept the ball, and what we did with the football was really, really impressive. So happy with what we did on the ball and in possession. We just kept the ball, and we were able really to dictate the tempo of the game. We could dictate what was going on, and we could change and adapt to the game, really. But then we could really force it upon Lincoln. I think straight away knew that we were going to have the ball and we were going to play against a difficult defensive Lincoln side at the beginning with that block. However, when we got that first goal and we could break the deadlock straight away, it was then important how we can then dictate and change the game and how we can then approach the game in a different way. Matthew Bell comes in the first chat of the day. He says, "Gotta love James Henry, 100%, mate. What a performance from that man." And he was really, obviously the hat-trick is obviously the one thing that everyone's going to be speaking about. But what James Henry did and the importance of those goals is absolutely massive. He had 3 goals, 3 very, very different goals. He had a penalty, he had a long-range strike, and then he had a really, the second one technically was a longer range strike, but, it was one of those where it was a really, really calm, composed finish. Really happy with James Henry. And that's exactly what you want, isn't it? That's exactly what you want with a player like that, with the experience. He's a player that Micheal Appleton brought in when he was manager. He's come in now, and he's just done an amazing, amazing job. And you've just got to take your hats off to James Henry, because what a performance from him. Jake Smith comes in, he says, "Come on, you yellow." Jake, what did you think of the game? I don't know if you were there, Matthew. Likewise for you, what did you think of the game? And how important, I'll ask this question to the chat as well, how important is those 3 points going to be? Because I know it's only 5 games into the season, and I know it's very, very early to start speaking about the end of the season and the final table, but we are currently sat in 3rd in the league table, and that has got to be something, as Oxford United fans, we can just celebrate. We're going to come on to a few things in a second, because Because, I mean, there's a player here that Jake Smith just mentioned there, and I want to come on and I want to speak about this player, this mystery player. And I think Jake Smith has got the player in front of us here as well. So we're going to come on to that in just a second, Jake, and stay in this live stream. Don't go anywhere. Stay in the live stream because I need to mention, we're going to have to speak about this mystery Oxford United midfielder, a player that Carl Robinson has come in and said before the game, and he reiterated it in his post-match interview as well. This is a player that the board and him himself said we cannot turn down. He's an unbelievable player at this level. We're going to come on to that in just a second, but just finishing this point here as well. James Henry, again, like I said, was absolutely immense. He didn't just score the hat-trick, but he also was winning his individual battles in the middle of the park. He really just dominated the game and took the game to Lincoln City. We moved the ball very, very well. We moved into the channels really, really well as well. We caused Lincoln so many issues. They had some really good players. They had the centre half, the two centre halves were big lads. They were defensively very, very solid. They did have issues with obviously COVID-19 and players not available. They only could name a bench of, I believe, 5 players. So that, of course, was going to be and was going to have an impact on Lincoln City. But it was still important that Oxford United, what's in front of you, you beat them. And there'll be times this season where we've got a lot of injuries at the start, and that's just the way it is. However, we have got injuries and we have got players that I think would come into this side. Sam Long would come into this side as well. And I'm sure Williams would come into this side as well. Maybe not straight away, but he certainly would be a really, really important player. Billy Bowden, just to name another one. So there's a lot of players in this Oxford United squad that are injured. Of course, Lincoln City are on the, have got that to a different extent completely. Jake Smith says, hey, he's had his medical, I can confirm. Jake, that's really, really important news. And we know as a midfielder, I know there's a lot of different people saying a lot of different things. We've heard Jack Wilshere, however we can confirm it's not Jack Wilshere, and it looks like it is going to be, as Jake Smith said, Herbie Kane. I believe, if this is the player I'm thinking of, I believe this is a player that can play right back as well as in midfield, but I think he's had time at Barnsley. Let me just quickly check that for you there. I believe it's Herbie Kane, and I believe he was somebody that was at Barnsley, if I'm not wrong. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different Herbie Kane. No, he is currently at Derby, so yeah, that's something that I can trust slightly my footballing knowledge there. That was Football Manager coming in there and helping me out there. Joseph White says, if we sign Herbie Kane, Brannigan could be off. Now, I really hope it's not like that, Joe. So I really hope it's not, because Cameron Brannigan once again today showed and proved to be a fantastic player again. Now, he didn't have an outstanding man of the match performance, 100%. I don't think he did. However, again, he's a player that, like I said, he would always give you a 7 out of 10. When we changed formation last week and when we went to that diamond, which I'm not too keen on, to be honest with you, and today proved to be how, when we go back to that 4-3-3, how successful it can be. I think it's really interesting you mentioned about Cameron Brannigan, because even last week when we had that change in tactical approach, he still was a really important player, and he still proved to be a fantastic player in the Oxford United side. Back in that formation today, again, he was absolutely outstanding. Joseph White said, sorry, he's already mentioned that. Jake Smith says that's the bad thing. Yeah, that is 100% the issue we have there when you bring a player in like that. Does that open the door for a player to leave? Now, we understand as well, the board and Carbonson came into agreement that they would reject a contract offer for a specific player. Now, what that situation looks like at the moment when it comes to rejecting offers of players, we believe that there is a buyout clause on most of the players in the current Oxford United squad that are worth, of course, of some serious value. However, we believe now we're coming to the last week of the transfer window that there is an expiry date on that buyout clause. That buyout clause can only be triggered at a certain part of the transfer window. For example, if Cameron Brannigan has a buyout clause of £5 million, that can only be triggered in the first few weeks of the transfer window. When it comes to the second half of the transfer window, or the last 2 weeks of the transfer window, any team cannot come in and trigger that £5 million buyout clause. They will have to put a bid in of the bid that Oxford United believe is the valuation of that player. Maybe it is 5 million. Maybe they would accept that. It would seem silly though to accept a bid of a player that is just expired the buyout clause. You probably would want a little bit more. Anyway, moving on. Matthew Bell says didn't watch the game but was keeping up to date on the radio. Sounds like a really positive performance. Massive win. I feel like there's a lot of teams also dropping points. And Matthew, you bring a fantastic point up once again. 100%, a great point. There are teams in this league, and I'll read you out the scores in just a second across League One this afternoon. But there's a lot of teams dropping some seriously interesting points. Rotherham did beat Doncaster. Cambridge beating Bolton. Charlton did get back to winning ways by beating Crewe. Ipswich cannot win a game this season. 5 games into the season, they have not yet won a single game. They drew 2-2 at home to AFC Wimbledon. Milton Keynes Dons beating Accrington Stanley. Another team, Accrington, have done so fantastically well this season so far. MK Dons come there, Accrington go to MK Dons and lose the game 2-0. Morecambe beating Sheffield Wednesday. I know I predicted Sheffield Wednesday to win that game in my predictions episode of the podcast just a few days ago, but I said the Morecambe fans are going to be up for that. That's going to be a bouncing atmosphere at that stadium. The fans are really going to want to see a really interesting game. When you play against the league leaders, they got that, they win the game 1-0. So again, you're probably thinking, what does that, this isn't exactly all talking about Oxford United, is it? We're not talking about Oxford in that sense, but what that means for Oxford United, that 3 points against Lincoln for Oxford United today, is massive in the league table. And it is only 5 games into the season. It is only such a small segment of this season. Of course it is. However, it's still massive, and it still holds so much significance and will hold so much significance as this season progresses. Another player I want to talk about again is Alex Gorin. What a fantastic performance from him today in that deeper, more holding role. I saw someone say, and I've heard quite a few people say about Alex Gorin, at the start of the season, he isn't going to get as much game time. He isn't going to play as much football as we've seen him play over the past few seasons. But I must say, Alex Gorin today was absolutely immense. And again, you're going to have moments with Alex Gorin where he's not going to pass the most accurately, and he's not going to be the most influential. You're not going to go away from a game going, Alex Gorin was my man of the match. He's not going to score you. Well, you might say that, but he's not going to, you're not going to go away thinking he's a man of the match because he's got a goal or got a hat trick like James Henry today, because that's not the sort of player he is. That's not the sort of midfielder he is. James Henry is a midfielder that can come and score you 3 goals. Alex Gorin's the midfielder that can sit in that deep role and absolutely control the game, but then also at times not need to control the game. He can just sweep up and play as that insurance player in front of that defence, an anchorman, a ball-winning midfielder, a deep line playmaker, a deep line midfielder, a deeper player in that midfield. Whatever you want to call it. You can call it so many names. Tomato. You can call it whatever you want. Whatever you want, you can say that, end of the day, he's a very important player in this squad. He proved again today how important he is. Jake Smith says he's at Barnsley. Jake Smith then said, got to go, we'll tune into the video. Thank you very much, Jake, for coming into the live stream. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you very much. Yeah, remember, if you do want to go at any point, you can go back and watch this episode of the podcast. It's always on the channel. As soon as the live stream finishes, you can go and watch it at any point. Just remember, though, of course, if you do want to stay here live, definitely do, and give your thoughts in that live chat. I'll be reading them out as well. Joseph Warwick then says, did really well at Doncaster a few years back as well. No, I have heard of things about Herbie Kane. He is a player that I have heard quite a lot about. I know he's a very good player. I also believe he's quite versatile as well. I would say Herbie Kane, for me, and from what I know of him, I'd see him as more of a box-to-box midfielder. That's how I would see him play, which is interesting because I don't really see that we've got a out-and-out box-to-box midfielder. Maybe Marcus McGuane, I don't know, and maybe Cameron Brannigan. But I'd say our box-to-box midfielder, a proper box-to-box ball winner, or box-to-box midfielder, who's going to win balls in the other penalty area, and then go up the other end as well and help attacks. Maybe you could ask a question. You could certainly pose a question there. But no, going back to Gorin really briefly, thought it was very good, and generally thought that the way he dictated the game, he could sweep up defensively, can then also start attacks as well, which is very important. You need a player that can stop attacks, that can stop things in midfield, can sort of nullify things, sweep things up, and then start attacks of your own. And that's exactly what you need. You need a player like that can do that. And of course, when it comes to tidy midfielders, players that do the simple stuff, midfielders do the simple stuff, players that you sit in front of the defence and maybe don't do all the fancy stuff. He doesn't score 20 yard bangers. We know that. We had a chance to shoot again today, and I remember sat there and I was laughing. Who I was watching it with, we laughed and we said that player will not score a goal. It's almost like he put a bet on when he became a professional footballer. I will not score a goal in outfield play in my career, and he's still holding it to that bet. Now, I know he scored a penalty last season, but that's what I mean, outfield play. He had a chance to shoot, and a lot of players would have shot there. Alex Gorin's always looking at that last pass. He doesn't want to shoot, bless him, but Generally, again, like I said, when it comes to the dirty work, when it comes to the work that players and things do, and sometimes it does get unnoticed, he does it fantastically well, and that's exactly why we love Alex Gorin at this football club, and that's why I think he's a real asset in that midfield. We mentioned midfield because, again, like I said, Herbie Kane's a midfielder, and who's he going to come out of that defence? Again, Carl Robinson suggested this is going to be a player that comes into this midfield. This is going to be a player that's going to come into this midfield and start games of football. Matthew Bell says, any news on signing a left back? There's no news, unfortunately, mate, on signing a left back. I do not believe. I believe the priority at the moment is simply looking at players that become available. That midfielder, I don't think with Herbie Kane, if that is exactly the player we're going for. Again, that hasn't been confirmed by the football club, but it is look like it is going to be him, and that looks to be the sort of recruitment process at the moment. I don't think there's a long list of players we're looking at. I think it's a situation and a scenario and a circumstance where if a player comes up, if there's an available player that certainly fits into what Carl Robinson wants to do and wants to build and wants to bring into the football club, if that recruitment and if the board can provide that, then that'll be a player that I think Oxford United, that would be the way that Oxford United deal things with, 72 hours or whatever it is until the end of the window. We haven't got long, of course. That transfer window does finish at 11 o'clock on Tuesday. There we go. That's the day. Winner needs a goal. That's another that I've written down there. Sam Winner needs a goal. He had a chance again today where he really could have shot. Really could have passed. He had a go at his shoot. So he's not lacking confidence from shooting, but he could have, in that opportunity, maybe passed it on to another player, and the goal still maybe could have come with that. He needs a goal, though, because if you're going to take shots, if you're going to put yourself in that situation, then you're going to need to start hitting the back of the net. It is getting to the point now where I do feel a little bit sorry for Sam Winner, because he's a player that you can see needs a goal. He needs that bit of confidence. He needs that boost in confidence as a centre forward, but he's just not getting it at the moment, which of course is really, really disappointing for him. And for a centre forward, it's so important that you hit the back of the net, you get that goal. It's massive for him. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's just not coming. So hopefully for him, he does get that goal, because we do need a centre forward that's going to get us 20, 30 goals. We want to get promoted. And Matty Taylor, I know he got his goal last week, but generally didn't look like he was going to score today. He did win the penalty, of course, but Sam Winner doesn't at the moment look like that sort of player. We've mentioned the mystery player. We've spoken quite a lot about that. Another note as well, I would say, ownership is looking really, really promising. Now, shall I say it? Yeah, I'll say it. So, it's probably someone that got me really, really involved and someone that got me really quite invested into Oxford United, and someone that really sort of got me into supporting Oxford, really, is my granddad. And I know that he has very, very strong opinions on the ownership and on the way the club is run. I do not disregard that opinion at all. I do not disagree with that opinion whatsoever. And I know whatever happens, we could have signed Ronaldo before Manchester United got there last night, and he probably still wouldn't be too impressed. Wouldn't be too impressed with Oxford United's recruitment and the way the club is run. I can guarantee you of that. However, I'm really quite, at the moment, excited but cautious on the way that this club is being run up there. I don't literally mean my loft. I mean in the boardroom, and that is something, again. The reason why I mentioned my granddad is because I know we could sign whoever we want to sign, but I still don't think he would be too impressed with what Oxford United are doing. But at the moment, the ownership is something that really, really has that takeover happened? Is it happened, but hasn't been officially announced yet? I don't know. Jack Mack says it's same for Charlie. I'm going to pronounce his name. It's Charlie Wyke, isn't it? He needs a goal for confidence. He hasn't scored for Wigan yet this season, has he? So I think that's similar to him there as well. But he did fantastically well at Sunderland last season. So I expect him with that natural goal scoring ability, he will be able to do that, I'm sure, in no time. But I get what you mean. It's similar with all strikers. You need that goal. You need that bit of confidence. And when that one goal comes, they'll all come flying in, and that's normally what happens. But going briefly to that point about the ownership looking promising. They look at the moment, they do look at the moment like they're looking to invest in the club. They look like they're trying to invest in the football club. Now, are we buying Herbie Kane off Barnsley? Now, if I can quickly bring it up now, and I apologise that this has not been prepared, but I've literally just got straight back from the game and straight in here to go live here. Is he out of contract? Is he out of contract, or is he into his last year of the contract? Because if he's still got 2 years left of his contract, then I don't see us buying him. I think it will probably be a loan. His contract expires in 2024. There is no way that Oxford United are going to buy that player. In my opinion, that is going to be a loan signing. So, that's interesting. That is really, really interesting. It's going to be a loan signing, in my opinion, and that's the way it is. So again, I'm not expecting us to spend 600, 700 to £1 million on players. That's the things that Ipswich have done this season. Look how Ipswich are looking. No disrespect to them, but they spent a lot of money in the summer, and at the moment, it's just not working. And they'll agree with that as well. There doesn't seem to be clicking just yet. But at the moment, Oxford United's board, and I bring a quote here from Carl Robinson, he asked the board who needed to leave the club in order to bring this calibre of player into the football club before deadline day. The board said no one. Get the deal done. And for me, that is a just exciting time, and as much as maybe we don't know things, and financially, the football club and what the ownership has not done everything right. No one's saying that. I'm not saying just by this one player coming in, the ownership are absolute angels and saints. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying in this circumstance, you can't really be negative towards what they're trying to do. And I know Carlton is always going to paint this ownership out to be better than it is. Of course he is. He's paid by them. They pay his salary, they pay his wages, they keep they keep a roof over his head. They're employed by him. It's the same if you had a job, or whether that be part-time, full-time. You're not going to come out in the media and say, yeah, my boss, I asked him for a pay rise or whatever, or I asked him to add this into the business, or say this is an analogy for you. Say you worked as, I don't know, say you worked at Screwfix, for example. It's not sponsored by Screwfix, but if you want to get in contact, that's for example, you work at Screwfix or any other retailers like that. You come out, you do an interview, and you say, I asked the old manager. I asked my manager, in this case the chairman, for a new department in the store. I want to bring a new hammer department in, and you come out and say, yeah, they don't want to do it. I want one, but they're not doing it. He's not going to do that. He's always going to paint out, because ultimately they pay him. They're not going to He's not going to come out and say, I want this, but they're not going to give it me. That's never going to happen. He's always going to come out probably and say, if things, and I'm guessing Carlson would have wanted things and the board previously would not have delivered it. In that case, he would have just stayed quiet. But when things do positively happen like this, Robinson is going to come out and say, I wanted this player. This player is fantastic. I think would bring a fantastic asset to this football club. The board have said yes, and that is really, really exciting. But like I said, I'm not painting these these board members to be out as angels all the time. Of course I'm not. I'm just saying in this circumstance, you can't really argue the fact that they are looking to take this football club to the next level. And as a fan, we just should be excited about that. Okay, we don't count the books, we don't count the money. We just have to look at it and just be honest and say we're just excited about the direction of this football club. Finally then, just rounding up, a positive performance, a classy performance, really, really happy with it. I know a lot of you, and including myself, want to watch that second half of the Liverpool-Chelsea game. I believe it's still 1-0. So I won't keep you any longer, but thank you everybody that's tuned in. Happy to see Oxford United getting back to winning ways. We needed a response from Bolton. We got that response. We now travel to AFC Wimbledon on Saturday. I won't be going to that game, unfortunately. I do apologise. There'll be no match reaction. Well, there probably will be a match reaction, but maybe not. Definitely not a match day experience because I'm actually away doing something very, very exciting. Coming to the podcast very, very soon. Just keep your eyes up for that. I'll probably be leaking or slowly spinning out really exciting pieces of information and clues about what I'm doing on the Instagram page at the Unfan Podcast. Make sure you follow that on the Instagram page. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Great result, and I see you all soon. Take care, stay safe. I've been Jack. See you in a bit.